I love this part of this trail. It's really nice, and you know, the green. It's really noisy over here. I don't know if this is a good spot to record. For the past few days or so, I've been doing push-ups on my knees. I didn't want to, but you know, I was experiencing some pain in the tendons here. It was weird. I don't know why that occurred, but the fact is it's there. And so I decided what would be best would be to regress. I was doing what everybody in the fitness space emphasized a lot, dropping your ego. And I hated it. One day, I was preparing myself for another grueling set of knee push-ups when a thought came into my head. The thought was an unsuspectedly simple, straightforward sentence, the kind that you might disregard as like kind of basic advice if somebody else told it to you. But for some reason in this situation, it carried with it enough weight and enough strength to free me of any sense of burden I felt from having to regress. And the thought was, regress. And the thought was this: it's not about where you were, it's about where you are. And then I went into my set of knee push-ups content. Dropping your ego is not an inhibitor or a chore. It's freeing. It frees you of the need to live up to your past self or to what you want others to see you as. We always say to live in the present, to not worry yourself about the past or the future. Yet when it comes to progress, it seems like we can't do anything but that, right? We think about the awesome things that we did in the past and why we aren't doing that right now. We think about what we want to do in the future and why we aren't there yet. And of course, we don't only compare ourselves to past and to future, we also compare ourselves to what others expect of us or what we think others would expect of us. See, I posted a whole guide on exercising. In my friend group, I've sort of established myself as like the experienced guy with calisthenics and stuff. And here I am doing knee push-ups. So in an attempt to make ourselves look like we're doing well in comparison to what we want in the future or what we had in the past, we might actually be detrimenting ourselves. When it comes to dropping the ego and regressing, a lot of the time it feels like you're choosing between the lesser of two evils. You regress for a bit and then delay your progress by a week, or you keep pushing through and you injure yourself and delay your progress by a month. But what if we make it so that dropping your ego is actually just a good thing, not a lesser of two evils? All right, quote time. Intentional regression is intentional progress. Intentional regression is intentional progress. Let's talk about that. Oh, the sun's coming through. So it feels like it's an undisciplined thing to be going easier on yourself when you drop the ego, right? Because you would think it would be disciplined to do that hard thing despite the joint pain. But I would argue that it's actually the more disciplined thing to do to drop the ego and to regress. So what is discipline? It's doing things that you don't want to do in the moment, but you do them anyway because you know it will benefit your future self. Is that not exactly what's going on here? So you don't want to go easier on yourself. Tell me, is that because you don't want to be undisciplined, or is that because of your ego? And it's important to mention here that I don't want to say ego in like the negative connotation in which it's usually used, at least in this case. It just feels like a sensation of wanting to hold yourself to a higher standard. Now, the unfortunate thing is that sometimes it'll be impossible for you to meet that standard healthily. So the thing that's driving you to push for that unhealthy extreme is ego. And the act of pulling back from that and having the foresight to see that, hey, this might damage my progress in the long run, that is discipline. So let's go back to what I said earlier. Intentional regression is intentional progress. You are making a deliberate choice to regress for the sake of your future self. And that choice requires discipline, right? It's hard to start from where you were before and build it up again. Generally, when a choice is made for the sake of your future self and that choice requires discipline, it's a good choice. And it's the best choice for your progress in that moment. There is absolutely no shame in choosing the best step forward. Why would there be? Because the step forward looks like a step backwards? Well, it's not. Because as we've just discussed, that regression is actually progress. Intentional regression is intentional progress. You see, okay, bit of a tangent here. Oh, pun intended, you'll see why. If this is your progress and then this is your regression here, instantaneously after you've taken that regression, look at the slope, take the derivative of this. So you're progressing, right? You've made a deliberate choice to regress, and now you're going to continue progressing. Whereas if you had decided to push, then you might have dropped off like this. I was just thinking, like, if I keep recording my videos like this in the woods, people are going to think I like spend 90% of my life in nature, which is just not true. Like, bro, I live in the suburbs. I spend 90% of my life doing school. So yeah, but I digress. That's a new word. I've never said that before. If we can just drop any concern for the past and the future, then we can commit all our energy to doing exactly what is best for the present moment to the best of our ability. And that is like the culmination of just being a good person, living a good life. We can take some time to reflect and think, where do I want to be in the future? Then break that up into steps you can do in the present and dedicate all your attention to those present steps. And don't rush the process to try and get there quicker. No, just focus on the day-by-day tasks that you just need to show up to, just need to do, and let the consistency do its work. There's a quote from East of Eden by John Steinbeck, which, by the way, phenomenal book. I just read it and like, wow, mind blown. There's a quote that I really liked, and it kind of applies to this situation here. And I don't remember exactly what it is, but I'll probably put it up on the screen. Now, granted, this quote is in reference to a psychopath trying to manipulate others and stuff and get money and kill people, but yeah, it doesn't matter. So now for more practicality here, how do you know when to regress? Well, your body will tell you. Your body will know the difference between, hey, this is discomfort that will cause growth and progress, and hey, this is discomfort that might last and might become debilitating. Generally, that discomfort will be in the joints or in the tendons, closer to the bone. If you ever start to feel that kind of discomfort, that you have a hunch that it might be bad for you, then you have full permission to pull back and to ease up a little bit. Anybody who is worth their 2 cents will tell you the same thing. For example, longevity, Jesus, knees over toes guy. Knees over toes guy has become somewhat of an authority figure when it comes to joint health and longevity, and for good reason. And he has said many times, like, if you feel this joint discomfort, you should absolutely not push through the exercise. Squat University, right? He says if you're rehabbing a joint, then you should do a range of motion that you don't feel any pain in. Any like coach who knows their stuff will give you permission to take it easy if you feel any pain, of course. From Knees Over Toes guy, from Squat University, from the top bodybuilders and the top powerlifters, I think they would all give you permission to regress if you felt a discomfort that you think could cause an injury. And this isn't just for fitness as well, this applies to a lot of things. So I can't quite put my mind to a good example. So I'm just gonna stick with fitness for now. So with this sort of permission, it's easier for you to drop your ego and to intentionally regress. Give yourself permission to dedicate all your energy to what is best for your present self, without wasting thoughts about your past self or what you've seen other people do. That is what dropping the ego is. It's freeing yourself from the past, from the future, from what other people expect. That's all.